Hello,
Kia ora! Welcome back to Video Drones. I'm Hannah Hunt.
and I'm Nick Hart.
And if you're new here, we review, analyse, dissect, pick apart the bones of films we've seen. And if you're tuning, hi, nice to see you again. Thanks for coming. Okay, so we've been at the NZIFF, the New Zealand International Film Festival. Is it the ISTAB
International Film Festival, yeah.
International Film Festival. Seeing a lot of really, really cool movies. And oh my lordies, we were so spoilt this year.
Yeah, it was very good year.
It was such a good year. And it was finished off with a little film called Triangle of Sadness.
It's such a good closing night.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I was bouncing off the freaking walls after this film. A bit like Decision to Leave had me in similar kind of euphoric state, but this film, holy moly, wow, we both loved it. We absolutely adored it.
I was like, how can anyone not like this film? People have to like this film, but we learned that some people don't like this film with passion.
They're probably capitalists. So I guess it's a pretty political film.
Yeah, it's polarizing, I guess.
Polarizing. But we're like raging socialists, if you couldn't already tell. Democratic socialists, let me get them wrong. I believe in the democratic process, but yes, I don't like capitalism or consumerism, and I'm very vehemently opposed to those sort of structures, especially hierarchical class structures. I think they're disgusting and archaic, and this is a film that really goes balls deep into those sort of themes. And we're totally free ball in this. We haven't made any notes. We just kind of wanted to...
It's the first film that I've made no notes for.
Notes.
But, I just thought it would be good to have like a sort of our passionate kind of thoughts on what we thought. He's not a director that I know heaps about either. I mean, I've seen The Square, and I've heard so many good things about Force Majeure, which we're probably going to watch later tonight. And lots of people keep saying, oh yeah, you'd love his first film, Force Majeure, but it's actually like his fourth film. There are 3 films before that, and lots of shorts and a documentary as well.
What's his name again, sorry?
Ruben Östlund.
Ruben Östlund, he's Swedish. How old is he, do you think? About our age?
Yeah, maybe a little bit older than us.
I mean, I've seen like the trailer of The Square, and visually it looks absolutely stunning. I'm quite excited to see that. I mean, completely separate to the Triangle of Sadness. I remember asking Nick what some good films about the art world, and he said that one's kind of the best. Yeah,
it's one that a lot of people agree on being really good. And how absurd the art world is, really.
It is. It's very strange. The way that some artists, they're basically commodified. And just the whole, how you become like an artist that gets millions of dollars for pieces of work.
And there's a little bit of that with this film, and but it was changed to the modelling world, which is, I mean, the film started off, reminded me a lot of Zoolander. I mean, that footage with all the models auditioning, which was great. Done really, really well.
It was a great start, quite different to the rest of the film. It's more of there's this chap, very flamboyant chap, interviewing different male models, all shirtless, about what it's like to be a model. The Triangle of Sadness is actually apparently like this part of your head, the little area here, when they go.
Is it officially, or was he just saying it as a joke?
Well, he was deadly.
Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah, he was deadly serious about it. I don't know if it's an actual term for that area of your head, but when one of the models goes into audition, they're sort of saying all these ridiculous things to him, and one of them is to relax your triangle of sadness. It's ridiculous, but it's also very cool. I kind of like that. The triangle of sadness. So relax that area of the face.
This film is exactly my sense of humour. Very, very black sense of humour.
Me too. It's a little John Waters-y, like kind of like, in terms of it's quite
John Waters would have loved this.
He would have loved this. I mean, there's scenes with like vomit and excrement and things like that. Yeah, I mean, it's got like
a little bit, but it's. I always think of John Waters as being quite sort of lo-fi and quite sort of I don't know. It was quite a slick film.
It was very slick. It was gorgeous. Like, it looked gorgeous. The editing was gorgeous. The acting was top tier.
Yeah, he does, before I forget, with the acting, he does 23 takes for each scene, each shot, really.
23.
Yeah.
It's quite eccentric.
Some of the
to
actors,
focus on 23.
some of them, well, approximately, like somewhere between 20 and 25 or something, but they said it's like 23 usually. And some actors seem to really like that, so I'd like to improvise a lot. He gives them space to improvise. And,
That's very cool.
and some of them didn't like it. Like there's one scene where that wasn't even used in the final film, where this character is having to drag the dead carcass of this donkey that he's just hit over the head and killed over these stony rocks, and he had to do that 25 times, and he's not in best shape anyway, so that was quite funny.
Struggle with that, and then they didn't even use the scene. By the way, you don't see the donkey being dispatched.
It's all out of shot, really, isn't it?
Yeah, the only cruelty we really see towards humans.
Yes,
particularly
deservedly
rich
so.
humans. The kind of people that can go on luxury yachts. The beginning, it's in 3 acts, it's in 3 parts. The first part is Yaya and, I can't remember her boyfriend's name, the male model. So there's a couple of models that are dating. One of them's she's called Yaya. It's quite a memorable name. I think he's got quite an ordinary
annoying name.
Yaya. And they're having dinner together, and she doesn't want to pay, and even though she earns more money than him, and he starts to get into this, he sort of tries to sort of gently bring up, he thinks it's interesting that she never pays for anything.
Yeah, she said last night that she was going to pay.
Yeah,
but
she said she was going to pay, but
she just goes, thanks, hun, but without them even without even looking away from her phone.
She's on her phone the whole time, which is, kind of a bit of a statement in itself. And then but then she gets really offended and wants to like storm out and gets really loud
because she thinks talking about money isn't sexy.
It isn't sexy, and he's kind of like, well, why is it not sexy to talk about money? Like, I want us to be best friends. She's like, I don't want to sleep with my best friend. He's like, well, I didn't mean like that. I mean, like, I want us to be equals in this. And that's a really great thing to talk about. I always think it's kind of weird that men are expected to pay for dinners. It's like, to me, it's almost like you're paying for dinner so you can have sexual favors, like you're sort of trading things or something. I don't know. It depends on like the ways that you spend the money. Say if someone like pays all of the bills in the house and pays for the rent or the mortgage and pays for the car, well, yeah, maybe the other person can pay for dinner. But me and Nick are very much like, we split everything. It's just easier that way. Neither of us have fuck all money. So why would I be like, I expect you to take me out for dinner and pay for it? Like, that's what men do. Like, this is, ugh. I can't stand any of that.
They were both models, both of them, so I guess they had a bit of money.
But she has more, because she's a female
true.
model. Apparently male models don't make as much money, and it's very competitive. They get paid 1/3 of female models, so it's one of the only industries. Okay. Yeah, apparently, well, that's what they were saying at the beginning, that male models make a fraction of what females make, and that's one of the only industries where that occurs, obviously. Yeah, so like it was quite interesting bringing up these sorts of things at the beginning of the film. Definitely something I think not enough people talk about. There seems to be all these bizarre taboos around talking about money or like gender roles and money and
I had a partner once who hated, like I posted something on Facebook that said eat the rich. And she got so angry about it. It's like some people really do. Yeah, I guess if they're rich, they don't want to be eaten. Yeah.
Yeah, of course she's going to get all uppity about that. But you're only rich because you've been like either inherited it, but most people who are wealthy, they've generally exploited people to get there, and they're definitely not paying enough tax. To support the society that they live in. In fact, the uber wealthy apparently only pay 12 to 19% tax compared to the rest of everybody else because they can afford to have accountants and offshore accounts, and it's that's a whole other conversation. So it's great. It goes straight into that sort of discussion.
It's broken into 3 things. I can't even remember what the first one.
The first one is introducing the couple. So it's about the couple.
And then there's the ship.
Second one,
and then
yacht.
There's the island.
It's a luxury yacht. And it's so clever. So they've actually got a free trip on this yacht, where it seems like that's part of like it's all about it's all about. So Yaya is like an influencer.
I hate that term so much.
I hate that term. We're actually going to do a song about it.
I don't want to ever be an influencer.
No, we're not. we don't have. I mean, I was trying to sell secondhand clothing, like cool vintage clothing and stuff like that online. But then I realised and my friends kind of pointed out, you kind of have to be an influencer in order to do that. You've got
It was
to
making you
this,
so stressed out
yeah,
as well.
because
Like
I'm
I
just
didn't
not
like it.
that. I don't want to like pose like. So yeah, that's unfortunate that you have to even just to sell cool clothing, which should kind of speak for itself.
Yeah, their relationship with like was basically just him taking photos of her for her
for her
her
brand,
thing.
building her brand, building her following.
Yeah.
All that sort of disgusting stuff. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre world we live in these days. And of course the effect that has on people who who aren't genetically born like that or can't afford to get plastic surgery. And like, it really scares me about the generation of young people who are growing up thinking that that's the way it's, but I mean, they use freaking filters to look a certain way. They use lighting, they use certain angles. It's not a realistic depiction of what people really look like. But if people, that's all they're seeing, they're going to think that that's reality and that they're lesser than in some way.
And then there are people who can afford to have plastic surgery and then fuck it up anyway.
Yeah.
Like, you know who.
Well, it's so, I just find it bizarre that like all of these people want to look the same as each other. They all, especially Brits. Brits have this weird look that they all seem to go for with plastic surgery. It's a very like mask-like face with massive lips.
Bag of chips.
But she's kind of amazing. And Vivian, but I don't know, drag queens doing it, like I can kind of understand like this, their whole thing is, I don't know, I see drag queens as kind of being slightly different because it's a very creative realm. But yeah, I'd really worry about what it's like to grow up these days with those sort of, I mean, I was bad enough growing up with advertising and magazines and movies where everyone's airbrushed and they've got lighting and stuff. But I mean, for today's youth, you know, it's a whole nother level.
I'm not happy with the way I look, but I would never, I think I'd look a lot worse if I got plastic surgery or something.
See, people wouldn't say that's how you look better. I mean, I'd love to get fox eye surgery or something like that. Have like little fox-like eyes, but yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like,
but you might change your mind in like 5 years or something.
No, this is the face I have. I just have to deal with it. And I'm getting older and things are sagging, but that's just the way life is.
Same here.
it's just what it's all about. I mean, we're in our early 40s. You hate that saying.
I hate that saying.
That saying. But yeah, we're in our early 40s and we don't look like we did when we're 20, but you know, I don't want to do weird things to my face and my skin and my body. It just seems strange. It blows me away that people can justify spending so much money on how their body looks.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So yeah, there's all that. And then there's the luxury yacht. And so you have the uber wealthy. You've got this lovely, sweet old British couple that have made all their money from
hand grenades.
From hand grenades and weapons of war. So yeah, I mean, it does. These sort of people that make the money, the sort of people they are, how they've made their money, the way they behave, the way they treat other people. And on the super yacht, you've got all the elite, and then you've got the crew, all this gorgeous young crew that, they're all beautiful, they're all young, and they're sort of like, money, they're all let's get a good tip, money. Oh, it's disgusting. And then you've got the other crew.
The manure magnate who is very proud to say that he sells shit.
King of shit. He made all his money out of fertilizer.
Who's actually in the Pusher films. Nicholas Winding Refn's early films, first films, I think. There's a trilogy, and I think he's in the one Pusher 3, The Angel of Death. So I was like, where do I recognise him from? Yeah.
I enjoyed his character. He was such a scumbag. He was like the ultimate capitalist. And really, like, he was even quoting these anti-socialist statements that he'd come up with Thatcher and Reagan. Like, he admires those kind of people. Which like, ugh. But he was great. He was a lot of fun.
He was very different. Like, in the press conference, he was so funny. I couldn't understand anything that he said, and he just rambled on, and everyone was laughing, but they still wouldn't have been able to understand him either.
He seems like a really neat guy. Like, I don't think he's anything like the character.
Not at all, no.
But that was kind of neat to have someone so kind of awful but strangely likable in that character. So that was enjoyable. But what I was saying about, so you've got the main crew, the crew that's seen by the guests. They're all young, they're all gorgeous, they're all slim. And then the other crew, well, I guess, the people who clean the toilets, who fix the machinery, and they're all, none of them are European, some of them are a bit older, and those are the ones sort of hidden away, and they're not included in this money scene at all.
They're all wearing black, and the other people are all wearing white.
Yeah. So you're seeing these divisions, this hierarchy of class. You've got the people at the very top, the uber wealthy, then you've got the captain who's probably a bit wealthy, but he's struggling.
There are comments on racism too, but then there's the guy. We're definitely going to have a spoiler warning on our video title, because there's that guy who the other guy that we were just talking about, the king of shit, thinks was one of the pirates because he's black.
Yeah. He thinks one of the other guests, or no, someone else that was working on the engines is a pirate just because he's black.
Yeah.
And they get into this. I mean, they're dealing with this pretty tricky situation, survival situation, and the first thing he does is start accusing someone of being pirate just because he's black.
Everyone's true colours come out very quickly in this film, right from the start.
Yeah, my gosh, there's so many little things that that flash to mind, like finding, this rich guy finding his wife's dead body and he's crying over it, but then he starts removing all her jewelry. Like, just what's at the heart of these people. And his wife, there's a scene where she's obviously a bit drunk on champagne, and she's talking to one of the crews, this beautiful young woman, and she's like, everybody's equal. And I was just like, rich people love to say that everyone's equal, that everyone has the same opportunities. I love saying
that's what I took as the whole theme of the film, because I mean, even right at the start, before we even have that operation,
with the fashion show.
Yeah, the fashion show. It says in the background, everyone's equal.
Everyone's equal. I was like, oh. So there's this idea, and it's like they're trying to market this idea that everyone's equal. Madonna, at the beginning of the pandemic, was like, COVID is the great equalizer. We're all the same. It's
I hate Madonna so much.
But you have access to, world-class health care, and you can, order groceries. You can have your private chef isolate with you. It is not the great equalizer. This is a disease that's disproportionately attacking people who are already weak and impoverished, or old, or vulnerable because they're disabled, or in a country where they don't have access to good health care or vaccination. So, that was just really showing her true
Why do
colours.
people like her? I mean, a lot of my friends have said that they love early Madonna or something. But
She's a gay icon.
I just don't like her music. Cyndi Lauper's way better. I'm a Cyndi fan.
I think she was very subversive. I mean,
yeah.
I respect the fact that she depicted female sexuality in a very different way. Yeah.
But then there are people like Kiss, who people might say are subversive, but they're like raging Republican losers. I mean,
I did think it was terrible that she was appropriating African American gay culture with the Vogue. She did appropriate a lot of things from other groups that were more minorities. She kind of exploited them for her gain, really. Exploited the dances that she chose and things like that. Yeah, it was a pretty weird dynamic she had with people.
The best thing she ever did was date Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Yeah.
She's just so self-obsessed and
If you're talking about plastic surgery.
I know, exactly. I
filters.
There's that black and white documentary she got someone to make in the early 90s of her on tour. I kind of want to watch that.
That's interesting.
But it would make me
that was
hate her even more.
There were all these amazing dancers, ones that were probably in Paris is Burning.
Again, she kind of stole their...
That's what I was saying, yeah. She some of the dancers are just,
they're incredible.
Incredible. But yeah, she basically just took that and used it. And didn't seem to give them much credit. No. It was a very weird dynamic she had with the dancers in this documentary. Yep. It's interesting. It shows a very totally self-obsessed, very superficial person with a bizarrely, But
then again, I guess the point of the movie is a lot of people these days, influencers at least, are very self-obsessed. They're probably, from that, influenced by her in a way.
And there's lots of people like that. There's whole shows that are built. There was that modelling show, America's Top Model, that was all about. They would get these I think there was one where they got an African American woman to bleach her hair white or blonde or something like that. What? And then they got a white woman to do blackface, and it's just it's very, very weird stuff. It's scary how normalized it's become to completely mutilate and distort your body into strange things. How that sort of seems like it's part of.
Well, that was the person I was referring to before about plastic surgery kind of disasters. Although she chose this, Mary Magdalene.
Mary Magdalene. She's a very interesting person.
I just feel like she's gonna die in a few years because she's like, she just has these huge, like
10 kilos each, I think.
they're like bigger than basketball breasts.
She can rest drinks on them.
Yeah, and like her ass is the same, like basketball
Yeah, huge
size
butt.
ass, and she's
And
just
very
gonna like
distorted face.
she's in her early 20s or something,
Yeah,
isn't
she
she?
is.
She's not gonna last with a body like that unless she gets surgery to like you know
Reduce it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I do follow her on social media and watch her live, but she's just a very, you know, she did like, she calls them whippets, but they're called nos over here. She was doing that for like days on end, like one after the other, and it was just kind of fascinating, and not in a like car crash kind of way. Like, I just wanted to know more about her as a person, you know, because she's presenting herself in this quite bizarre, exaggerated way, and I was like, well, but I don't want to judge her just based on what she looks like. I kind of wanted to dig a little deeper, and she loves her animals and things like that. But yeah, it's just she's probably a more extreme example, but it's good to kind of get to know her underneath it all.
I don't think she's evil or anything.
No,
I just think she's very
no.
self-obsessed.
Yes, she is. Yeah, but very interesting. She's actually kind of quite an interesting person. Yeah. So she's a pretty extreme example, I suppose. And weird thing is, I feel kind of fondly. Well, I guess I feel.
You do.
Well, no, I feel kind of like weirdly protective of her. Like, I just want her to take care of herself, and it's hard to see someone.
But she's not though, by getting all those operations.
No, that is hard to see. Because she's actually quite a sweet person, quite vulnerable in some ways, I think. And maybe she doesn't think so, but
the
she
question
wants
is,
to be liked.
would you think fondly of her before the operations? She'd just be another
Yeah,
person.
well, I might not have found
No,
her
you
otherwise.
wouldn't have.
That's the
Definitely
thing, yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? I'm complaining about it yet. I guess I wanted to understand the psychology. It's like criminal psychology. I like to read about certain criminals and watch documentaries on them to try and understand their mentality. And I think it's just, she's
Like
probably
serial
the
killers.
most, well, I'm really interested in criminal and abnormal psychology. But she's an example of, I want to understand what lies behind people who are into extreme body modifications, what sort of people they are. Yeah, and it's quite disturbing. I do wonder how long physically her body can handle what she's been doing to it.
Anyway, sorry for my Madonna.
Digressions, Madonna, Mary Magdalene. Yeah.
So the yacht.
So they're on the yacht, and a storm cometh. And the storm,
I love a good storm on a yacht.
Good storm on a yacht, and they're serving all their fancy food. And people start to get sick. Starts out with like a little almost vomit. So if you don't like seeing vomiting, and normally, to be honest, we watched this movie called The Sweet Movie, and the scenes of vomiting, and that was so horrendous. I just hated that movie because
I fell asleep during that.
Yeah, that was a really messed up film. Like,
I kind of warned you though that it probably was going to get.
I thought it was going to. Well, it's bad in terms of like there's this older woman interacting with children in a very inappropriate way. Right. That really annoyed me. But then when the people were like making themselves sick, but there was
yeah. But
so if you don't like vomiting, don't watch this.
And it was,
film.
I think it was real vomiting. Like some
of it looked really real.
Seemed very realistic. So.
So all these very fancy people, these privileged fancy people that believe that everyone's equal and are living in this complete delusional world.
There's a scene. Do we say the scene with that woman that tries to get the young girl who like is working?
Yeah, that was what I was talking about. So this rich old lady, she's talking about how everyone's equal, and then she's like, "What would you like to do if you could do anything?" And the girl's like, oh, I don't know.
She can't. She's not allowed to say anything.
And then this woman decides.
She tries to get her to go into.
They all need to go for a swim. And then she demands that the entire crew, everyone has to go down a water slide and go for a swim because she's showing this generosity, I guess. It's bizarre. I mean, like...
They did not want to do it.
If you have to work and you know you're not supposed to do something, you can't exactly enjoy the moment when you're like freaking out about your boss catching you and telling you off. It's it's the way that rich people sort of treat others like their idea of charity, or like it's sick. It's so sick and it's so twisted and it's done so well about that. And we see other people's playthings and how she forces these people to have fun and how sort of generous she's being and doing this, which is it was done so well.
She was probably I didn't like any of the characters. Well, hardly, like maybe 2 or 3 characters that you're supposed to sort of just gonna sympathize with. But she was my worst character.
She was horrendous.
I just hated her so
yeah,
much.
she was very
I've met people
good
like
example.
her too.
Yeah, she's a perfect example of her ilk. They were stereotypical in a way, but they really do sum up like the kind of the categories of very wealthy people, sort of people that you get on a super yacht. There is and then so they're all starting to vomit because there's no one at the helm because she got everyone to go swimming.
Sequence.
It's amazing. But some people have an aversion to vomiting. So this would be very triggering in that respect. So please don't proceed if you find vomiting, upsetting. And it starts out with little vomits and then it gets to bigger vomits and then just like so much vomit. And there's a scene where there's a guy on the toilet, he's vomiting and you can see the shit stains flying up behind him, so both ends are going. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and they're all these, they're being the great equalizer.
Someone
speak about that. God.
Someone we were sitting with didn't like it because they said there was absolutely zero subtlety in the film, and there wasn't.
There isn't any subtlety, but then again, some people need to be bashed over the freaking head with these themes because saying it subtly doesn't seem to get through to people. So I don't think it needed to be subtle. Unfortunately, subtlety is not enough to get through to certain people. They need to have it rammed in their face. They need it accelerated and the volume turned up right to high.
His previous film, The Square, which is the only one I've seen of his, was quite a lot more subtle, but it had the same sense of humour.
It was so good. It was funny. It wasn't, it was gross, but it was actually funny. And people were laughing and groaning and laughing. And then, and that horrible woman, the one that thought it was so much fun to force the entire crew into going and having fun on the water slide.
I loved how she's sliding
around in her own vomit.
Yeah. It was hilarious. That woman seems really cool in the press conference.
I'm sure she is.
They all do. The whole cast.
I'm sure the cast is really decent. Yeah, really. Well, they're actors, I'm sure they're all very cool people in real life. But boy, was she the epitome of that repugnant human. So it just gets, completely out of control, and then a little bit of a spoiler, but then they're going to kind of have to give a spoiler because it is in 3 acts. So the first act is the couple, second act is the yacht, and the third act is the island. Where not many people manage to survive, but they make it to this island, and that's where things really get so wow. Okay, so the only person on that island that can do anything, like light a fire, like catch food, happens to be one of the crew that I mentioned that aren't seen by anyone, that are shoved aside. She's an
very
older
little, maybe
woman.
Filipino
I think
lady.
she sounded Filipino, but it's hard to say. She could be from Malaysia.
I'm not too sure.
I should have looked that up. But wow, what a fantastic performance. I just adored her.
Yeah.
And so now she, instead of kowtowing to the hierarchy of things, is no, you can't tell me what to do. I'm taking more of the share of fish because I caught it. I lit the fire. And this is the thing, in this world, the uber wealthy don't need to know how to, in the world we actually live in, the uber wealthy, they don't need to go shopping for their own groceries. They don't need to know how to light a fire. They don't need to learn how to catch fish. In fact, a lot of middle class people are like that too. Personally, I damn fucking straight. I can start a fire. I can kill and gut and cook food. Not that I enjoy killing things, but I think it's really important.
You're kind of proud of the fact that you can.
Well, because a lot of people are like, ew, I can't do that. It's too gross.
I can't do it, and it is. I could not do it. If I had to in a zombie apocalypse, I would do it. But I just, I don't like killing anything at all.
Wow. I think it's important to learn how to do these things. I just want to have practical skills that can be applied to, I just don't want to be useless in that respect. I try to learn as many practical things. This is like people who have killed their own ducks, and I gave them a hand, preparing them, things like that. My dad taught me how to shoot when I was young, and we didn't shoot many animals, but what we did shoot, we would bring home and cook. We were very poor, actually. So, I'm sure it probably helped with the old food bill. I don't believe in unnecessarily killing things just for the fun of it. Hell no. But in New Zealand, rabbits and hares are a nuisance. In fact, farmers try to kill them. So we were doing a favour to one of the local farmers. So, but I don't know, I just find that it's important to know how to do these things. And finally, this woman, instead of being like, I'm still the crew member here, I have to do what I'm told. No, she's like, I'm the captain now. You're all useless. You can't do anything. And that was so satisfying, because in certain situations, the people who run the world, they have it all, but if you put them in a situation where they needed to fend for themselves, they would be completely lost. And that's kind of the whole point it's getting to. And she creates a sort of matriarchal haven. It was funny because Yaya's, the model, was saying to this woman that she's like, oh, you made a bit of a matriarchal, she made a matriarchal environment here and society, and you've tamed the alpha males. And this old rich white guy to the side of me, this big bulbous nose guy, wasn't wearing his mask. Nice one, eh? Like, just, what's so hard about wearing a mask? He wasn't even drinking or eating anything. Just weird goddamn mask. Anyway, he was like, hardly, like really loudly, like you could feel his frustration through the whole movie, but then he finally just blurted out. I don't know if that means that he meant hardly as in that they were alpha males, so that's arguable, because like some of them were fit and strong and some of them were older and had that sort of structure. They were part of that structure of alpha males, or that he didn't think that she had managed to subdue the alpha males. But anyway, I think it really peed off the theatre that we go to. You think the people who run it are very left leaning,
but you still have to pay $20 for a ticket, so you're gonna get rich.
You're gonna get wealthy people, and it's a beautiful theatre. So, and as we found out from one of our friends who works there, there's some real assholes that come in there like, I would like a Pinot Noir, but I don't like it like that, and hurry up, won't you? Like, treat her like
I'm from Meadowdale, from Fendalton.
I'm from Fendalton with my ladies. Blah, blah, blah. You're just so useless. Oh, did you see her? She's just terrible. Like, bullshit like that. So, I mean, those kind of, it happens even in that theatre. So I think that there were some people there that felt very uncomfortable with how, I don't know, like, it reveled in wealthy people getting the comeuppance. The couple, the nice old couple that have made all their money from blood and warfare get their comeuppance. And boy, that was satisfying as well.
It's interesting because the director, he doesn't strike me as poor.
No.
And he married a fashion photographer. So when he married her, he was like, I want to know everything about the fashion world. And this is where the research came from for this film.
Oh, cool. Yeah, sure, he may not be wealthy, but he's not one of the like 1%.
No.
And he's using his money and his standing in the film community to make a film like this, which it's a really, really important film. He's potentially
he's probably a bit like the Woody Harrelson character, where he says that I've got too much stuff.
Yes. Oh, there's this really great conversation between the shit guy and the captain, who's played by Woody Harrelson. He's great, and they're having this drunken discussion and quoting back and forth at each other.
And their conversation is like going through a PA to everyone on the ship.
Eventually, when they get drunker and drunker, and he should have just shitty socialist. But yeah, I really loved that the socialist character admitted that, he said, like, I have too much abundance. I am a shitty socialist. And I really appreciated that when socialists that do well for themselves acknowledge that, maybe they're not really living up to their ideals, but seeing like an extreme conservative right-winger versus like a very left-leaning captain having this discussion was really, really neat. And I was really pleased actually that I don't think the audience made a sound. Like, there was no sort of like agreeing to what the shit came with his Reagan and Thatcher quotes. That wasn't getting any love, so that was a bit of a relief. It was really, really interesting. But of course they were the way that they were discussing, they were like quite friendly towards each other. It wasn't really antagonistic. It was more like, this is better, like capitalism's better. It's like, no, socialism is better, but without getting really nasty at each other. So it was quite a pleasant exchange. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just, all these sorts of themes, and the ending is really interesting. The whole thing from start to finish. I'd
love to talk about the ending, but
I don't think we should.
We
I
can't
think
go there.
we kind of hinted on what happens without giving away too many spoilers.
Yep.
But yeah, it's the themes and the ideas that are being discussed in the film are so important. I'm so glad that he made this film. I mean, at the risk of alienating himself against producers, the sort of people he probably has to interact with in order to get his films made. It's a risky move.
Once you see The Square, you'll see he's definitely, I don't think the people producing his films would have the same kind of thoughts on the same ideology as
Yeah,
him.
there's some really wealthy socialists that actually like do invest in like good things.
Yeah,
and
like
put their money to good use.
Jeremy Thomas, that producer that I've said to you, is like, seems like a really lovely guy who'd made that film with Christian Bale about the animals. What was it called? All the Little Animals.
Oh, that was such an interesting
with
film.
John Hurt,
Very
right?
young Christian Bale.
So there are good producers
Yeah,
around.
of course there are.
But,
There's heaps of people that are like well off, that are good people, but they pay their fair share and they use their money for things that are good, rather than lining their pockets with blood money.
Yeah.
And exploiting other people's labour and energy and stomping all over the environment and creating the disgusting amount of climate change disaster that we're dealing with these days. All because hypercapitalism has become the predominant mode of functionality on this planet. That it's worth more. I mean, just how much money does someone actually need?
Exactly.
You know, do you really, like, you're willing to completely destroy entire ecosystems and push people who have, you know, in the Amazon, pushing out indigenous people from their land that they've had for millennia. Like, the things that wealthy people are willing to do just to up their profit margins for exponential growth, which just is an impossible thing on a finite planet. It's a very timely film. I think there would be people who would want to write whole essays on this. I think it would be a great film.
I'd like to.
And not just in film for film students, but for people who want to discuss philosophy, sociology, anthropology. This is a film that's just so rich.
I'm very pleased to see how popular it is too at the moment. It's like the 141st most popular film on IMDb, which is really cool.
I'm really glad it's
cool.
popular.
Yeah.
I'm really, really, really glad, because it is vicious and pointed, yes, in what it's trying to say, but it's so important to say it.
Yeah.
It really, really needs to be said. I thought it was so, so, so well done. I couldn't find a fault.
No, not at all.
There was just like the editing, the cinematography, the score, the performances. Yeah, it wasn't subtle, but yeah, like I said, these things need to be like rammed down people's throats because they're just not fucking getting it. So yeah, it's not a subtle film.
What would you rate it?
I've got to give it a 5 out of 5 hearts.
I'm going to give it my first 5.
Wow. That's a big deal from you. Because
It
I either
is.
tend to love or hate. Sometimes I'm a bit mediocre.
Even films I love, I'm still like quite fussy about rating, but this one has to be. I mean, I like realistically on IMDb, I gave it a 9 out of 10. But
That's really good for you.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
There's not many films that I'd give a 10 out of 10.
So we would give it 10 out of 10 hearts.
Yep.
There you go. Wow. I think that might be our first mutual.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. We both gave it the most we could give it out of the
Definitely.
hearts.
It needs to be seen.
Needs to be seen.
Yeah.
It won the Cannes de Jour.
Did it? I didn't even.
I think so.
No, I haven't researched much.
Pretty sure. There was someone that
We've
when
been seeing so many films that it's been hard to keep up with researching things for reviews.
I'm pretty sure it got the Palme de Jour.
Probably. I'd be very surprised if it didn't, actually.
It did.
I know it got an 8-minute standing ovation, but lots of things that can't get a long standing ovation. So
it's funny. I think there were some older white, wealthy, I assume, gentlemen in the audience, and I don't think that they like this film very much. Which is, yeah, I mean, if you're going to be challenged with those kind of things, I mean, wealthy, privileged, especially white people, they everyone else is the butt of their jokes. You know, benefit bashing is like a national pastime in New Zealand, like welfare beneficiary. Wealthy people are used to being on a pedestal where you can't even touch them. They're beyond mockery. They enjoy this position of immense privilege. And to see people that they can probably identify with rolling around in vomit probably was really, really uncomfortable for them. But it was great. I mean, sometimes I just kind of look up at the stars and I'm like, I just wish everyone would kind of get the karma that's coming to them. You know, or if there are aliens, can you just like disperse some kind of virus that just like makes everything right? And this film kind of was one of those films where everything, all the injustices of the world, all the people that are beyond sort of criticism and beyond being sort of mocked, they have to deal with all of that. And the people that disperse weapons, get them coming right back at them.
Yeah.
So it's a very satisfying film for us, and I it's just, I was surprised and delighted that a film like this not only was made, but has been so widely celebrated and enjoyed. Yeah, it made me really, really happy. There's a little bit more hope in humanity when something like that happens.
Yeah, I was very excited after we saw it. It really gave me a warm feeling in my body.
Yeah, yeah. Even though the ending is not like, yeah, but it's still good. Yeah, overall, it's just like it's a really good feeling. But yeah, I think the people who don't like this, I think they should really look at themselves and think, why did it trigger them like that? Why?
Yeah. Oh, they won't. They won't look at themselves and ask that.
Yeah, they're probably not the type to watch our videos anyway. Maybe.
No.
I can't really say.
I don't think so.
Probably a little bit too subversive the stuff we do. We're not really into our blockbusters. We like the more interesting. Sort of outsider things.
Speaking of which, we're going to be doing a video on Decision to Leave and 2 Claire Denis films, brand new films, so look out for those.
Yes, what a great film festival it was. Such a high way to, you're ending on such a high with Triangle of Sadness.
Yes.
Definitely go see it. It is good on the big screen. I would recommend it. Same with Decision to Leave. You've got to see that on the big screen. I think actually that they're going to bring those 2 movies back, and probably one of the Claire Denis films. So I don't know. Very, very exciting times.
It is.
It is. See you later, guys.
See ya.
Bye.